Thank you so much, Frank. Well, the Texas National Guard is providing new details about extra forces moved to Brownsville along the border of Mexico. A specialized unit called the Texas Tactical Border Force has been deployed to deal with the expected influx of migrants as Title 42 expires. According to the Texas National Guard, the unit, made up of more than 500 servicemen and women, has experience in civil disturbance and riot control.
And that's why we're taking proactive measures with barriers and with additional forces to explain that migrants should go to the port of entry and not do this dangerous crossing in these other ways.
And with all eyes on South Texas right now, Border Report's Sandra Sanchez has been in Brownsville, Texas, and she is following the very latest developments as the Biden administration announces its plans for the end of Title 42. So Sandra, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. A lot of people are probably wondering what exactly this new plan entails.
Good evening, Sonya. Good evening, Sonya. Yes, the Biden administration today announced their plan, which really relies heavily on law enforcement, active military troops being surged to the border, as well as encouraging people to apply for asylum in third countries using new processing facilities that are going to be open in Latin American and Caribbean countries, about 100 of these processing facilities. And that's to prevent migrants from heading north, like here in Brownsville, Texas, at what's now called Camp Monument.
So Sandra, was today's plan expected, and how has it been received so far?
You know, for the most part, it was expected. They're walking a fine line. Yes, it was expected, but not appreciated from really either side. Migrant advocates said that this puts an undue hardship on asylum seekers having to apply via CBP-1 app to go to ports of entry or to apply at these regional processing facilities. Meanwhile, conservatives said they really wanted to see the Biden administration re-implement the Migrant Protection Protocols program. That is the formerly called Remain in Mexico program, in which all migrants were expelled back to Mexico and forced to wait south of the border for the duration of their immigration proceedings. So both sides are saying neither was enough.
So Sandra, there is now a new plan in place, but what happens if someone does cross in between ports of entry after tomorrow night?
Right, 11:59 Eastern time, so that'll be 10:59 our time tomorrow night. Title 8, long-standing immigration law, will go into effect, and the migrants will be processed. Their biometrics will be taken. We're told that this is being done expeditiously. They're using cell phones. They're doing some right a little while. I mean, it could take from a few hours to a couple days to get the migrants fully processed. If they are expelled south of the border back to their home countries, they will be forbidden from trying to re-enter for 5 years. If they do try, they could face criminal prosecution for re-entry.
So Sandra, you've been there at the border all day, so have you heard of any local problems so far affiliated with this new plan?
Right. You know, what's interesting is behind me all day we've seen buses come and go, and they could be coming as we speak. But what we're hearing, there were 26 buses that were using to transport migrants here in Brownsville. But now they are down buses because a number of them broke down recently from just being basically overworked. And then apparently another Border Patrol sector called back their loaned buses. So there's nowhere near 26 buses, I'm told. We may see a problem tomorrow if we have thousands of people cross the border and they can't transport them to processing facilities.
Sandra, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you on our show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And as mentioned, hundreds of state DHS personnel are being sent to the border and to other countries. For a breakdown of the numbers, head over to borderreport.com. Well, Freddie, yesterday was quite busy. We were looking at storms. Most of them fizzled out, didn't make it to our area. But once again, you were looking at storms that are right now forming in northern Mexico in those mountainous areas. So what are we expecting tonight?
Yeah, so
Sandra, you were able to ask the Homeland Secretary a question about the new processes after May 11th. So what did he have to say?
This is one of those buses that are passing right by. He said that after Title 42 goes away on May 11th, that the migrants will have a higher burden of proof to claim asylum. He said the new law was being finalized in the Federal Register and it will be released soon. But he said that they will have to show a harder burden of proof that they belong here. And you know, that's a harder line than the Biden administration has taken so far. He would not give specifics on the credible fear interviews, how they exactly will be conducted, but he said more information will be coming very soon.
So Sandra, what about the influx of migrants specifically from Venezuela? Did he explain why that's happening?
Yeah, you know, he used the term dynamism. He said that it's complicated, but some of the examples he gave were the huge fire at the immigration facility in Juarez, Mexico a few weeks ago that killed dozens of migrants, caused them to move east to the Gulf Coast. He also said that for whatever reason, 2 weeks ago, the government of Mexico has just stopped taking back Venezuelans that the United States is sending back under Title 42. Now, the United States and Mexico has been working to rectify that, but you know, he made it sound like it's a done deal. I spoke to local officials. They're very concerned because there really still is no agreement, and if that isn't reached before May 11th, they're concerned migrants will really continue to come across the Venezuelans at the rate we're seeing now.
And of course, we're going to continue to follow that. But what about funding for local nonprofits and groups that are helping the migrants along the border?
You know, that was probably the biggest news that he actually made today. He announced that $332 million in FEMA funds are going to be given out to nonprofits that help to feed and give supplies to asylum seekers. In addition, there's another $360 million that soon will also be released to NGOs that house and provide shelter for the migrants.
Sounds like a lot of money is heading to the border. But one last question, Sandra. What about the troops being sent to the border? Are they coming here to the Rio Grande Valley?
Right. The 1,500 Army and Marine troops are going to be sent to El Paso, but Chief Ortiz said he has the ability to redirect them, and it's very likely he will if it needs to be, and he said Brownsville could be an area that they might be sent to.
Sandra, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and you can always learn more about what's next after Title 42 online over at borderreport.com. Thank you. Well, now it's time to talk weather with Jessica. So Jessica, it's finally Friday night and people across the valley, they're probably heading out and they have plans, and chances are they're probably looking at the sky right now and thinking, is there rain in the forecast for tonight?
I know, it looks a little sketchy out there, right? Because it's been cloudy all day and it's so humid.